You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out with Freddy, Joe, and our special guest, Matt Hoffman. Oh, my Lord. I can't believe we are in the final 2 episodes of the first season of the Twilight Zone.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Welcome back, Matt.
Thank you for having me again. Number 3.
Number 3.
I'm prepared.
Yeah.
You never know when you invite me. What's going to happen? Maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I won't. This time I decided to.
And then we were going to have you on the last couple, and I forgot to confirm with you. So this is what happens.
Yeah, I got a text like 10 minutes before. You're like, hey, you ready? We're about to jump in. Jump in for what? Ready?
What the hell are you talking about?
What are we doing now? That's awesome.
Already had a dream that he invited me on the podcast.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when you're a regular user of marijuana, I don't know, something happens in the brain and I forget certain details.
You were in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Let's see. Original air date on this one was June 17, 1960. My notes I had 2025. Shows you where I was at when I was taking those. I'm like, what? Nope. This is the 4th and final episode directed by Alvin Ganzer. He did What You Need, The Hitchhiker, Nightmare as a Child. Now this is a weird episode and I don't know if this is the only time this ever happens or not, but it has 2 directors. So the co-director was Robert Parrish, and he had done one for The Angels and A Stop at Willoughby. So I couldn't really find exactly why that's the case in this episode, but I thought it was interesting. And this one's written by Rod Serling. Cast of 8, including Serling. Characters are Mouth McGarry. This is the manager of the Hoboken Zephyrs.
Mouth.
Yeah. This is Jack Warden, who we've already had when we talked about The Lonely. We talked more about Jack Warden, just a legendary character actor. Dr. Stillman, this is the creator of Casey. First and only appearance by Burmese actor Abraham Safar. And he is one of only 11 Star Trek actors to have been born in the 19th century. And I thought that was kind of crazy. You're like,
Crazy.
Yeah, you're like, dude, man, that's a long ass time ago. That's like almost Civil War time.
Is that even
McGarry
real?
alludes to that too. It's a kind of a great line he tosses in there.
Yeah. So he played Thasian in the Charlie X episode, and Melkoshian in Spectre of the Gun. He was the voice of that character. If you're a Star Trek fan, a lot of those crossovers between Twilight Zone and Star Trek. He appeared in all of the genre shows of the time. So if you watched a lot of TV and you're watching Outer Limits, like all those other shows, he pops up sooner or later. And then we have Casey, described as a most unusual left-handed pitcher. First appearance by Robert Sorrells. He was a cowboy actor a lot of the time. He popped in and out of different TV shows and movies in those roles. And he's got these giant ears. He's just an interesting looking guy. He kind of looks like Ichabod Crane from the Disney animated Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
I picture him as like he's in like in the world of Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle too. He's got that kind of like similar goofiness to him. It doesn't look like him, but he's got that goofiness quality to his features.
Like a lovability too, right?
Yeah.
He reminded me of a lot of a Lenny from Of Mice and Men. Just kind of like
Yeah, and you know we'll get into that. There's a good reason he acts that way. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. He was in Fletch. That's the other thing I meant to mention. He's the character who says, "Boy, what in the hell is the matter with you?" These are all the nice things about his career, but the whole time apparently he was suffering with a lot of mental health problems. And in 2004, he went into a bar in Simi Valley and shot 2 people and killed one of them. And then, he
they must have taken out that heart. Spoiler alert.
He lost the heart. He was just it's an interesting story his whole life. Like he was a yogi and all this stuff and a vegetarian. And the weird part is he was like a pacifist too, but yet he committed murder.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was the thing I was saying to you, Matt, earlier. That's that wild bit of trivia.
Yeah, no, the history that I had heard about this was that the original actor who played the manager not Jack Warden, ended up, he was a huge drunk, and he was drunk during the shooting, drunk on set, and he died like a couple days after filming because of, he was all messed up. And so those shots that he did were terrible, and Rod Serling ended up like putting up his own money to reshoot as much as he could. And they like edited kind of what they had together, but basically like it was a totally different dude as that lead character, and he was just a mess, and he died.
Yeah, I really.
That's not what you heard, huh?
Yeah, I heard that story, and I heard Rod Serling was like, he didn't want to like parade around this guy's demise or something, is one of the reasons he brought Jack Warden back in.
Like a really messed up performance, I guess.
Yeah, it is sad, but like I was thinking about him having Jack Warden come in and play that role, and I'm like, I would love to see like the alternate takes still. Just as a fan, you're like, what would it look like? Who this other guy? But who knows? Jack Warden's great though. No complaints there. Then you have Beasley, who's the general manager, who is Mouth's boss. This is Alan Dexter. You probably only know him from Paint Your Wagon if you're into old movies. He played the parson in that. Then I'm skipping over Monk, not important. Kind of dull backstory on that one. Team Doctor confounded by Casey's lack of pulse later on. It's the only appearance by Jonathan Hole. He worked for the California Employment Development Department, which is who would pay the actors when they were out of work during the studio system. And he would talk about all the really famous actors were still drawing this benefit, even though they had work. That would pay so much more that they could maybe stretch it out. But like people like Cary Grant, Tyrone Power, Errol Flynn, they would send their assistants to stand in line because you had to appear in person to collect it for them until they were up front. Then they'd get out of a limousine when the time came and go and get their money. I thought it was an interesting little story about that. But they, so that that was like his main job, the one playing the Team Doctor, and then, supplemented that with acting. The commissioner, the one who said no heart, no play. This is Rusty Lane. You might know him if you're a Disney fan from the live action Johnny Tremaine movie. He was Sam Adams. So, for people that drink beer at lunch. And then the last little bits, the trivia of the episode before I hand this over to the fellows is the last of 2 episodes to include the eye and not the spiral in the introduction. Matt has the spiral behind him right now as a mural on his wall. It's awesome. Yeah. Oh, hold on a second. I disconnected my microphone. Hopefully that fixed it. Can I hear you again?
We hear you.
There we go.
Now you're back.
Yeah. So this episode is the last one to use the eye, but the other 3 we've already covered. They were the last 3 episodes. Paul Douglas, who had the drinking habits from Gary, we talked about that. And then this was a play that Rod Serling had staged prior to it being an episode of the Twilight Zone. So a lot of people say that's kind of why it may feel a little different. And Dom DeLuise is in the locker room scene, uncredited. I thought that was kind of a neat thing to look out for. And it's funny because I was just looking at that old canon movie called My African Adventure, where he's him and JJ Walker in a little person in a monkey suit and a little boy. It's really fucking insane. This was filmed at Wrigley Field in LA, not to be confused with the one in Chicago, right, Matt?
Correct. Yes.
Matt lives in Chicago.
Huge sports fan.
There's two Wrigley Fields. I had no idea. So let's see. The prediction. Rod Serling, they say, predicted the ascent of the LA Dodgers in this episode at the end narration, which Joe will get into. This was the lowest rated episode. The fewest number of people tuned in to watch this episode of the entire first season to date, at that time. And also Serling was a huge baseball fan, which you can tell because the way it's written, a lot of it is about kind of the game. And the slide whistle tickled my fancy. They used for all the pitch sound. And
that's pretty great. And
then later on, when he's seeing the doctor, there's a little oil can on the headboard, like they used in The Wizard of Oz on the Tin Man. But But we'll be right back. We'll jump into the meat of the episode right after this. All right, we're back. Patrons, thank you, because that means you didn't hear any commercials. Let's talk about the story now. Joe, I'll hand it over to you, sir.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna actually see if Matt has anything off the top of his head he wants to toss in. He looks like he's chomping at the bit.
No, I'm not, but just in general, I probably interrupt. This is an episode that is, it's interesting to me. You know, I'm not typically a fan of the comedic Twilight Zone episodes. I appreciate them for what they are. I think they're important to the whole history of the series and stuff. You need them there, but they're not ones I would revisit often. This one's got a lot of like, as much as I don't like it, like I wouldn't watch it casually probably, I oddly want it longer because it just, there's so many like little backstory and maybe like future questions that it leads. I'm like, so as we get through this, I feel like it's just fun. I'm sure some of it is maybe comedy or like adds to the comedy of it, but this episode could stand to add some padding, I think.
Yeah, it also has some like you're saying, some interesting things to say about having a conscience.
Yeah. I liked it. You know, it seemed very like sports oriented. So I think in the time it probably stood out a lot as like, you know, people who were not ordinarily Twilight Zone fans maybe really got into this. This may have been like a gateway episode for a lot of people to get into it and be introduced to it.
I'm not like a sports guy, but as I understand, like that would have been the heightened era of like baseball is Americana, right? Everyone like fucking goes apeshit over baseball, right? This is,
right.
Yeah, it was
so
growing.
that was like such a great, you know, just backdrop for this episode to get other people, other non-Twilight Zone fans, jacked up.
Totally. So it starts off with the panning over the field, and it's a kind of overgrown, like an old stadium, and we have Mr. Serling come on and say, what you're looking at is a ghost, once alive but now deceased. Once upon a time, it was a baseball stadium that housed a major league ball club known as the Hoboken Zephyrs. Now it hosts nothing but memories and a wind that stirs the high grass of what was once an outfield, a wind that sometimes bears a faint, ghostly resemblance to the roar of a crowd that once sat here. We're back in time now, when the Hoboken Zephyrs were still part of the National League, and this mausoleum of memories was an honest-to-Pete stadium. But since this is strictly a story of make-believe, it has to start this way. Once upon a time, in Hoboken, New Jersey, it was tryout day, and though he's not yet on the field, you're about to meet a most unusual fella, a left-handed pitcher named Casey.
Nice.
Which just sets the whole stage. It's like a long intro, but I love that. So they get in here, and right off the bat, you're seeing every little aspect. And I love the development. I agree with you, Matt. I'm not merely into the positive ones as much for whatever reason. But this one kind of tickles me because it goes so quick. It's got all the beats in the right spots. Yeah. And they're just watching. It's Mouth McGarry and the owner, one of the owners, what's his name? Beasley, that's it. So they're watching their team just be terrible and sniping at each other for different things, and talking about how they're 20 games out of fourth place, and how when they win one game, they got to call it a streak. I love that.
It's Major League reminds me so much of this opening sequence, the movie Major League. Just they have that same vibe for sure.
Totally. And they were talking about how Fletcher's doing, the pitcher who's pitching right now. And during that time, he throws a pitch and kind of like winces and hobbles on one leg. And you're like, oh man, this team is rough.
It's just like, you know, this is, I mean, how did this says it was a major league team. How did these people even get to this level? I love that. And there's literally a scene where it's like, I don't know, probably like half the team is doing jumping jacks or trying to do jumping jacks. They can't even do jumping jacks, which is like first grader, does jumping jacks pretty competently. These are alleged Major League Baseball players have made it this far in their career and are having the hardest time doing these jumping jacks. I love that.
At one point, McGarry's like, "All right, Sanchez, make him stop. That guy in the end's turning blue." They're falling over.
Oh man, well, it's funny when you look at those old baseball footage from back in the day. Some of them are like have cigarettes dangling out of their mouths and shit when they're playing.
And so there's this ton of great one-liners, and again, like you said, Freddie, like it's kind of like Major League. It's a bunch of one-liners of baseball stuff, and these, Fletcher's the pitcher. He's doing great. He pitched 1 inning and allowed only 6 runs. It makes him our MVP. And so they get a call from the front office, and they say, Beasley answers it and says, do we want to look at a pitcher? And he's like, hey, if he's got more than 1 arm and less than 4, he's for us. So
I was like, so you can have 3 arms,
right?
And they'll still hire you. So you could still play in the majors.
Maybe that's a different episode, huh? Yeah. Anyway, so they're sitting there and they're watching their team, and Dr. Stillman walks up, and McGarry's like, hey, what's the joke? This guy, he's like, this guy's not a pitcher. And he's like, of course not. Of course. And he has this line where he goes, of course, I've thrown a few baseballs in my time. Oh, that was before the war. And McGarry goes, yeah, what war?
Yeah.
Or which war? That's what it was.
This is who we were talking about at the beginning, being this guy he was born in the 19th century.
Yeah. So he's clearly real old, but so Casey walks up and he's got that kind of yokel face on. And so he's like, all right, well, he goes to shake hands, Casey. And he says, your right hand, Casey, your right hand. And so he switches hands pretty robotically, and they do the gag where he crushes his hand, and Jack Clugson's doing the ooh.
And all the cartoon sound effects.
Yep, crunching and like, yeah, exactly. And so it cuts to commercial, comes back, and he's like, all right, well, why don't you get up there? And so he gets up there and starts pitching, and they do the very cartoony, the ball. You never see him actually pitch. We just see him wind up and then throw. And
then the slide whistle does the rest of the work.
Totally. It does exactly. I mean, it's you know exactly what's happening based on the sounds. The first one is
I love how the pitching, it's like, because he's a robot, they should have made him some sort of demon or magician, because he defies physics, which is nothing like being a robot isn't going to allow you to like slow time down and stuff. Like, it's so funny. Yes. They go, he's a robot, and then you think he'd like throw super fast, or like something crazy, like a spike would come out of the ball. But no, it's the whole scientific meltdown. Great.
It's very, very cartoony. So the first one is a fastball. He throws it, and the catcher stands up, and he's kind of holding the ball, and you look at his glove, and his glove is smoking, and he quickly takes his hand out of the glove, like, ooh, that burned me. And
do you think there was ever a War of the Worlds kind of scenario where some guy just tuned in at that moment and thought he was watching a baseball game?
Right.
Some guy with a bunch of Schlitz beers piled up around him.
What team is this? So he gets up, and they do. They say, that's his fastball, right? And so he goes back and he does another pitch. And this is one of my favorite moments, where both the doctor and McGarry are, their two heads are watching the pitch, and at first they're kind of in sequence, like watching it swirl around and do loops. And then right at the end of the clip, you see the doctor's head go one way and McGarry's head go the other way, like they're not watching the same pitch,
Yeah.
And it's clear that they just had to make up, okay, this one's a curveball and it goes all over the place. So just kind of move your head all over the place. And they start looking in different directions, and it's like, okay, well, the ball didn't split in half. So
or did it?
Yeah, again.
Or did maybe it did.
All these other shit he's doing, might as well.
Yeah. And the slide whistle's like, woo.
Suddenly becomes 2 slide whistles.
Yeah. So that lands and goes, oh, that's his curveball. And then he does the slow ball, and the joke is so I don't know, hackneyed or something, but he's like, that's his slow ball. And he looks at his watch and he goes, he's a little bit late. as he patches it. So McGarry's watching this, and then he's like, "Okay, hold on a second." So he goes, and then he goes behind the catcher, and we see a couple more. So the fastball comes smoking in, and we see a batter actually try and swing at it, and not a chance. And then the slow ball again, and the batter swings twice before the ball lands, and so it's like that's the slow ball of like slowness, and so he's like, all right, and the catcher jumps up and he's like, this is amazing. Have you seen this guy? And the McGarry's trying to like tamp him down because he doesn't want to sell it too hard. And he's like, yeah. Go take a shower. Go take a shower.
He tells a robot to take a shower too, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. I think he tells everybody to take a shower. I didn't mention this. I want to come back to it because it comes back in the episode. One of the first things that happen as Casey comes out onto the field, as he's walking up to the dugout, and he's standing in the dugout, and somebody hits a ball, and it was kind of a foul ball. And it comes down, and you see him get conked right on the head as this foul ball hits him, and he barely flinches. I mean, he does blink, but it just nails it. I got to think that actor had to get, how many times did he have to get nailed in the head with a baseball?
I'd like to think it was a softer stunt ball, but
I would hope so.
You
but
know,
he
that
kind
could
of
be what
blinks
made
at
him
it.
murder that guy years later.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
The traumatic brain injury.
Lawsuit.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's dark.
It would have been great though if
It's
that
possible.
turned Casey the robot in the episode evil, and he started tearing people's skulls off with their spinal cords and stuff still attached.
His eyes turn red. He's like, "Rah, destroy,
Kill.
murder bot activated."
That's funny you should say
And,
that. Don't you feel like Murderbot seems to borrow kind of a lot of themes from this episode?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I think this sets the stage for a lot of those. He's actually a robot type episodes.
Season 4 episode, The Deadly Casey, will cover this topic.
The Deadly Casey.
The Deadly Casey. I love that.
That would be a great parody T-shirt.
So all these pitches finish, and McGarry's coming off the field, and he's like, well, he's rough. Talking to the doctor, well, he's rough, but we'll give him a shot. And the doctor's like, of course, sure, great. And Casey comes back, and before Casey comes back, he says, well, he's a robot. And I don't know why I made him British all of a sudden. And and he's like, well, let's keep that in the family, Doc. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say ROBBOTT. It's like,
so
okay,
Mouth is supposed to be dumb.
Yeah, Mouth's a dummy, but he knows baseball. And this is one of my favorite moments that I only caught in this viewing, and it's one of those things that I don't know. It's one of the small details about Twilight Zone that sticks with me. As the doctor, so Casey walks up and he's like, yeah, I just told the doctor you're rough, but we'll give you a shot. And so as the doctor and Casey are walking away, they start out and their strides match, like their legs are moving in sequence. And then Casey's don't match for a moment, and he kind of skips, looking down at the doctor's feet, and matches the stride again.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's cool.
That's cool.
I don't know if that was intentional, but it was kind of cute. And it was like, oh, he's just a kid. He's matching his stride to match the doctor's, whatever he's supposed to do, right? Or maybe that was an actor's thing, whatever. So they do that. And then moments later, you see McGarry walking to the dugout at first, and he starts walking, and then he skips. So he does the same thing that Casey did. He skips because he's so excited, but it's the same shot, same angled shot of them going to the dugout. So I don't know if there was some kind of like I don't know,
cool.
like he's a kid again, right? So
yeah, now
just
I'm
one of
gonna
those
watch
little
it again, just to see that.
Good catch. Yeah, I know.
yeah, minor details. So he goes in there and he runs in the dugout, and he's like calling the front. He's drop a contract. We got an ace pitcher. As long as his battery doesn't run out and he doesn't sit out in the rain or rust in the rain, he's like, forget what I'm talking about. Just drop a contract and come meet your ace pitcher. So McGarry looks out in the field at their one of the poles in the field and sees a pennant flying, and he gets really excited. And that is the clip for the first piece before they go to commercial.
Yeah, dreams are about to come true.
Mm-hmm. So then we start to get into the next one, which is his first game. We see him come out there, and he's like, no, don't get nervous, kid. And he's like, nervous? He like doesn't understand. And McGarry's like, like if it's the something, the bottom of the ninth or something, and you see Joe DiMaggio come to the plate looking intent, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know anyone. That wouldn't bother me. I don't know anyone named Joe DiMaggio." And he's like, "Oh, yeah. Anyway, get out there, kid." So he goes out there and he starts pitching, and then we start seeing the montage of all the pitches a shutout, and then does more and that they're winning all these games in a row, and everybody's super excited. And then you see at another game, there's a hit, and then everybody's in the dugout kind of watching, and you hear a crack of the bat, and then a dunk, and everybody's like, and it's the newspaper spins into view that Casey's been beaned, and apparently just nailed with a baseball. So then we clip to the hospital, and the team doctor's there, Beasley's there,
the
McGarry's there,
right?
Yeah. Well, the commissioner isn't there right away, I don't think. Yeah.
I thought it was awful convenient and quick that the commissioner was right there for the next part of the story.
They like called him in right away, and he immediately showed up. Like, yeah, that can happen. So they're checking him out, and they're saying, "Well, it looks like the doctor's like he looks fine. He seems okay. Everything, his eyes are responding. We're fine." And so he's like, when I heard how hard you got hit by that ball, I was a little worried. But and then he's taking his pulse, and then he kind of drifts off, and he's like, and they're like, "What's wrong, doctor?" And he's like, "Well, the thing is," and he doesn't know how to say it. And he's like, "This man doesn't have a pulse." And so the other Dr. Stillman, who created Casey, was like, we might need to tell him now. And so they
cat's out of the bag.
And Beasley's like, "Oh no, what's going on? What did you do here, McGarry?" And so they're like, "Well, he doesn't have a heart. He's a robot. He doesn't have a heart." And so the team physician gets like suspicious and gets that look in his face, and he's like, "I'm gonna have to report this to the commissioner. You can't, we got a robot here."
And he bet on baseball too.
Oh yeah. And so they bring in the commissioner, and he's got a great voice of, "According to article blah 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 blah, 9 men on the field, men, not robots." And so
I gotta stop you here. That's not exactly what happened. And what did happen is what I've been waiting for. Oh my gosh.
Go for it.
One of my favorite Twilight Zone tropes that has been, this one just was dangling in front of us waiting, is the use of robot instead of robot. And especially with Jack Warden, and we had him in The Lonely, so much robot in that episode. And we get Jack Warden in this, I go, and it's about a robot. And I go, we're gonna get so much robot. And everyone's saying robot. I'm like, come on. And finally we get this thing. 9 men, not robots. And I'm like, there we go. There's the Twilight Zone pronunciation of robot that I've been waiting for this whole episode.
I love that.
Okay, anyway, carry on. I apologize.
No, all good. I love that. We finally get the robot. And so they're going through, and Beasley starts arguing. He's like, what is the line? He goes, well, he's got arms and legs and a face, and he talks. What else do you need to make him human? And he's like, well, the commissioner's like, he doesn't have a heart. How can he be human if he doesn't have a heart? Great line from McGarry. Well, Beasley doesn't have a heart either, and he's got 40% of the club. So a lot of these little one-liners tossed in there. And so the doctors are like, well, that's it. He doesn't have a heart, so he can't be human. And the doctor's like, well, if I gave him a heart, would that qualify him as human? And the commissioner's like, I guess,
that would be an
like,
ecumenical matter.
Yeah. So they're discussing it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so much great stuff just in that, the whole notion of this, that like anything with the heart, I can put a heart in my air conditioning unit, and now my air conditioner is a human. It's just that's funny. And then and like every animal is a human now for some reason. And then also like they go, okay, you just give the dude a heart and then we're fine. And the researcher, the scientist guy, is just like, yeah, okay, no problem. No, not like, where am I going to get a human heart? He's like, yeah, I got hearts. I got a closet full of human hearts. I'm going to pop one in this guy.
Didn't you want to see the dark side of that character? You just nailed it.
Yeah, he's just like an independent researcher that no one questions where he's getting these human hearts from. Love that. That's more of the backstory I'd love to hear in this one.
Yes. I can whip one of those out in 10 minutes.
You want
Good
adult
stuff.
or child hearts? He's like, I got them all.
Will a baboon do?
Want to catch me? Put a kidney in there too, maybe.
Any kind of
Probably
meat
get one
makes
of
it
those.
human.
Right. So they pan to, they approve it, and they're like, the other teams are gonna freak out, and he's like, and then Beasley's like, okay, you say it, McGarry, and that they're finally gonna get a pennant. In winning, the Hoboken Zephyrs are finally gonna get a pennant. And so they clip to the next scene. It's the next game. It's gonna be a big game, and they've got everybody in the dugout, and this is kind of sweet. This is where it falls into that the baseball movie trope where Casey's not there, right? And they're waiting to hear how the surgery went. Nobody's talking about it. They haven't gotten any word from the doctor. And Casey starts launching into this like epic speech to get everybody kind of fired up and in support of Casey, and we're gonna do this one for Casey, and he's here with us in spirit, and it's like he's a robot, like he's not there with you.
For the Gipper.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, he's kind of going. It was kind of, I mean, there were parts of it was cheesy and stuff, but it was kind of sweet too. Like he's really trying to keep his club going. And he starts talking about how he's, even if he's not here with us, he'll still be here with us in spirit. And then, of course, Casey appears behind him, and he's like, "Hey, he's here!" And everybody gets excited. And he's wearing a suit, and he's like, "Look at the doctor's like, look at the smile in his face. That's the one thing I couldn't get him to do, is to smile. And now he has a heart, and he can smile." The guy's smile on his face is just, he looks. Pardon the phrase, he looks even doofier than he did before. He just kind of like, I'm so happy.
This guy is like if the animated Goofy character came as a human.
It's almost like a baby.
If Goofy had a heart.
Yeah, right.
Like if you pumped into AI like Goofy, but only human, no dog parts.
And so he's like, listen to my heart, and he kind of opens up his coat a little bit, and McGarry leans in, and you hear that, just like you said, Freddy, the Tin Man, the tunk, 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 tunk. And he's like, all right, go suit up. And so everybody gets ready, and they head out on the field, and the baseball game begins. First pitch, Casey throws it, and crack, and the ball goes.
He looks so happy when that guy hits it over the wall.
Like a stupid dog.
And he's got that look on his face like, oh boy. And everybody's kind of like,
good?
Yeah, right. Everybody's watching. He's like, what is going on? He pitches again. Crack. Another one. Out into the field. And it happens over and over. And pretty soon the score is 8-0.
Oh my God, it gets so bad. It's all still the first inning, and it just keeps racking up higher and higher.
Yeah. Great. Another great sports montage. And they finish out after, and McGarry's like, okay, I'm clearly willing to listen to anything. I listened to you, Doc. Like, what happened? And he's like, well, Casey now has a heart. And so well, you can explain it, Casey. And he's like, I just didn't have the heart to ruin the careers of those other fellas. I didn't want to pitch so they couldn't hit it. So I just let them hit the balls. And so he's like, he just didn't have the heart to ruin anyone's career, and he had too much empathy with the batters.
This is so against the 80s idea of being an athlete, like
right.
You're raised to be like, if you play any sport at any point, they're the enemy until that thing happened where now you hear all the conservatives complain about the everybody gets a trophy movement. Yeah, that's what's happening with Casey, but it's kind of beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. And the doctor's like, he's developed empathy, but he hasn't gotten that drive, that competition. He said that he's just something he doesn't have, and he hasn't developed. So he's like, I guess, that's the end. He's got too much heart. Oh, and then he goes, the doctor thinks I'll be good at social work. And I was like, oh man.
No, Casey.
Right.
No, you can't do that. You have no education.
Could you imagine Casey showing up to take your kids away?
Oh no. What a mess.
Of course. So they kind of head out. Casey heads out, and Dr. Stillman gives him the blueprints for Casey, which is insanity to me. He's like, "Here's the blueprints. Here you go." And which is just one of those moments, I think, just to advance the plot. And McGarry's looking at the blueprints, and you see him like bing, the light go off in his head, and he starts chasing after Dr. Stillman. And then it's kind of, "Hey Doc, I got a question for you." And so they kind of go off into the field, and you hear the voiceover come on, and Rod Serling explains what happens. "Once upon a time, there was a Major League Baseball team called the Hoboken Zephyrs, who, during the last year of their existence, wound up in last place and shortly thereafter wound up in oblivion. There's a rumor, unsubstantiated of course, that the manager named McGarry took them to the West Coast and wound up with several pennants and a couple of world championships. This team had a pitching staff that made history. Of course, none of them smiled very much, but it happens to be a fact that they pitched like nothing human. And if you're interested as to where these gentlemen came from, you might check under B for baseball in the Twilight Zone."
R for robot.
Now, I know very little about sports, so I checked up in the late 50s, early 60s, because he's going to be maybe reflecting on games that already happened, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the prediction stuff. But apparently, the Brooklyn Dodgers moved to LA for the 1958 season, and they had a great pitching staff. And so 58 and 59, 60, I think they won. Didn't they win in 59?
I think so, because the thing is when this was run as a play, it was before all that, and it predicted the move, because he says the thing about a team moving from the East Coast to the West Coast and then becoming the world champion.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Took them to the West Coast, and so then they became the LA Dodgers, and then they won the championship in 60. And so it's kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. Like maybe I thought he was playing off of that, but if the play was before all that,
yeah, the play was written before, and they didn't change it.
Oh,
yeah, so that's he
crazy.
Predicted it. Yeah, which is pretty
insane.
Cool. Yeah, he makes you wonder, like, did he know somebody? If this was something that was stewing along,
they
for
were
years.
robots. The blueprint was insane. It was, I don't know if you noticed, it was just like that, like what you would see in a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, just a rolled up piece of paper.
Yes.
I was assembling a desk the last month from IKEA or something, like when I was like, it was like 20 pages and it looked like a box at the end. And it was like you built a robot out of this like cartoon blueprint. I love it.
Single page.
Yes.
Yeah.
The diagrams are all like him in the Vitruvian Man pose with his arms out and like little put strong hands, that
cigarette lighter in navel. It fits so well with you're talking about earlier about Matt was about being like almost black magic. That it feels more like a scroll than a blueprint.
Yeah.
And this one scientist did all this stuff, invented out of whole cloth, and it's very Captain America kind of,
yeah.
one person behind it all.
You guys have any final thoughts on the Mighty Casey?
Again, it's good. You got to have the one or two comedic episodes every season. They're I think they're just a necessity to break it up. I think that's, even if you don't like those episodes, if you were like a viewer in the original airing watching these in order, it's a nice breakup mentally to get out of like that darkness maybe, or that like suspense, and just have a little like fun time with the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, contrast really does help. It's like
if I were
a bite of a pepper when you then eat whatever else you're eating.
It's used minimally. It's not like all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this was something where, Serling thinking ahead. Again, this is baseball's booming at this time. Everybody's watching. So if you want to have an episode toward the end of your season that you've already built up some excitement about your show, and you want to bring new people in, and you're imagining, okay, towards the end of the season, we got more people watching. We should do something to really get people interested. This is a great way to like, oh yeah, well here, maybe this is an episode for you. Maybe this is your Twilight Zone. So
yet it was the lowest rated one. Does it make you think that like the typical Twilight Zone fan didn't like sports and it turned them off?
I wonder.
Yeah, because I would think the hardcore Twilight Zone fan was like a nerd at heart, probably. but maybe. Who
That's
knows?
funny.
So we're coming back.
Not much has changed.
With the season 1 finale of the Twilight Zone, A World of His Own, which it's like kinky, you know?
It's
little bit.
it's a funky one. Yeah.
And Matt will be rejoining us for that. I can't wait.
Hey.
So we hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.